This is analysis of Lauren's butterfly. So the first thing we'd like to see her do is really focus on making sure that she explodes out with her head and arms in this direction. That's going to allow her momentum and change her trajectory to get further out off the blocks instead of coming almost straight down into the water. She's good underwater, but one thing that we really like to see her focus on is that when she enters the water, we want to shorten up those dolphin kicks the further away we get from the wall to maintain that top speed. She does an excellent job of pressing the T. So what we mean by that is every time she takes a breath, we see she really drops that chin and presses her upper body down. So there's a natural T that forms between the shoulders and spine. She does an excellent job of making sure every time she takes a breath and a stroke that she pushes that T down and leads with her head, which forces the momentum of her upper body, forces her hips back up, and it also increases the power with which she forces her hands through the early part of her catch in the butterfly. She does an excellent job of staying high on the water, limiting her knee bend in her butterfly kick. One thing that we want to make sure she's able to do is we don't want to see her face come so far out of the water when she's not taking a breath. This is an excellent turn. We want to make sure that we keep our eyes on that one hand on the wall and then tuck it back, our hand back behind our head like we see here. Very good turn. We can see as she starts to get tired, she starts to get more and more vertical when she takes a breath. So what we need to be careful of is we don't allow ourselves to get so vertical because we expose ourselves to a lot of negative resistance. Making sure we think about not bending our knees, driving with our hips is really going to help us prevent ourselves from getting vertical, especially later in the race when we start to get tired. Additionally, we want to make sure we don't see any breaths inside the flags. We want to finish strong. 2 breaths on the finish really slowed us down. If we had stopped breathing right here, we could have taken 3 strokes and gotten into the wall instead of needing the extra stroke to finish. This is underwater analysis of Lauren's butterfly. So we can see she does an excellent job of keeping her dive shallow and of pressing this T. You can see she has a very natural T press. So the T that forms between her shoulders and her spine, she forces that T down, and we can see that her head leads her hands through this early part of the catch. Okay. So forcing this T down forces her hands through the early part of the catch with more momentum from her upper body instead of having to use her lats, and it also forces her hips up. This allows her to swim very high in the water and use a seesaw like a dolphin to generate power from her hips. Additionally, because she does such a good job of keeping her body position high in the water, she presents a very small path of resistance or face of resistance to her forward momentum going forward. She does a pretty good job of kicking from the hips, and we can always improve on using our hip power. We don't want to make sure we have a little bit less knee bend here. We don't need quite this much knee bend. Making sure that we kick with straight legs is going to help us continue to generate power as we go down the length of the pool. Again, excellent underwaters here. We can see as she comes up out of this breakout, though, that she takes a breath on the first stroke. This is the first time that she really starts to expose herself to negative resistance by creating this vertical face that catches a lot of water as she moves down the pool. She compensates for it when she doesn't breathe, but she needs to do pay more attention when she takes a breath so that she keeps that chin low so her hips don't sink so far down. We can see that when she comes up to take a breath, she really exposes herself vertically. We want to make sure that she keeps those hips high to minimize that vertical kick, or excuse me, that vertical resistance.